Let's get you the big news break this hour. Tara Air 9 twin-engine aircraft carrying 22 people, this includes 19 passengers and 3 crew members, has gone missing. In fact, the flight had taken off from Pokhara, after which it went missing. It's a 25-minute flight that, in fact, disappeared. Right now, search operations are underway as we speak. In fact, we've been getting you several voices of authorities as well. The missing aircraft had 22 people on board, including 4 Indians and 3 Japanese nationals. 22 people included 3 crew members. According to officials, the flight took off at 9:53 a.m., lost contact at around 10:07 a.m. with the ATC. The flight from Pokhara was scheduled to land at the Jomsom airport. This is in Mustang. There have been helicopters that have been dispatched now to trace the plane. Listen into exactly what the spokesperson of the Nepal police said.
विष्णु जी नमस्कार, मैं अरविंद ओझा बोल रहा हूं आज तक से, दिल्ली से।
नमस्कार।
ये जो फ्लाइट नेपाल से गायब हुई है, इसके बारे में जानकारी दीजिए। कहां से गायब हुई है, कैसे, क्या जानकारी है नेपाल पुलिस को?
हाँ, वो तारा एयरलाइंस के प्लेन पोखरा से वो मुस्तांग जा रहा था, वो गायब हुआ है। उसका अभी 2 घंटा हुआ है, उसका जो खोज तलाश जारी है। नेपाली सेना तो प्राइवेट एयरलाइंस के हेलीकॉप्टर उसके खोजने के लिए परिचालित हुआ है, उसने खोजी कर रहा है। वो नदी के पुलिस यूनिट, मुस्तांग के पुलिस यूनिट, नेपाल प्रहरी के प्रहरी जवान परिचालित हुए, उसने खोज रहा है। एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन अभी पता नहीं है, वो तो खोजी कार्य जारी है।
अभी उस जो फ्लाइट जो लापता हुई है, उसकी लोकेशन अभी तक नहीं मिल पाई है?
हाँ नहीं, वो मुस्तांग डिस्ट्रिक्ट के वो समवेयर वो शंकास्पद है, तो एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन पता नहीं है। वहाँ नेपाल प्रहरी का लोग ने वो खोज तलाश कर रहा है।
अच्छा, तो क्या इसमें नेपाल की जो सेना है वो भी अपने हेलीकॉप्टर के जरिए तलाश कर रही है?
हाँ, नेपाली सेना के हेलीकॉप्टर, वो प्राइवेट एयरलाइंस के हेलीकॉप्टर नेपाल सरकार ने खोज तलाश के लिए भेजे है, वो खोज तलाश कर रहा है।
अच्छा, कितने लोग थे फ्लाइट में, कोई ऐसी जानकारी है भी डिटेल?
हाँ, फ्लाइट में 19 लोग है, तो वो फ्लाइट दल के 3 सदस्य थे, 22 लोग था।
अच्छा, ठीक है।
Polami Saha, who tracks the aviation beat for us, is joining us on this broadcast. Polami, any information, any update with regards to the search operations?
Well, Akshita, no information as of yet. As you heard, the official over there from the Nepal police also confirmed that 2 private choppers and 1 Nepalese Army Mi-17 helicopter were in fact deployed to search for this aircraft which has gone missing. I beg your pardon, Akshita. But what we learn right now from our sources on the ground is that 2 of those choppers have in fact returned to Pokhara because of the weather in the area where the aircraft, they believe, seems to have gone missing. So because the weather is playing spoil sport, they're not being able to proceed further with their investigation. We're not yet sure if the Nepalese Army Mi-17 has in fact been able to reach the area and is currently involved in the search operations. But we do know that the 2 private choppers unfortunately couldn't proceed further because of the weather. So it might be a while before they go again, in order to look for this aircraft which has gone missing. So that is the update which is coming in from Tara Air, of course. And you spoke with the Civil Aviation Minister, Mr. Prem Bahadur Ali, as well, of Nepal. They've confirmed that this flight took off from Pokhara at about 9:53 a.m. this morning. 9:55 a.m. is what they say. And at about 10:06. 7 a.m. is what Mr. Ali had to say is when the aircraft went missing, and that's exactly what we see when we track the aircraft's flight path as well from this morning. Earlier this morning is that within minutes of takeoff is when the aircraft went missing. Roughly, it is about 7-8 minutes that it went missing. So clearly, the efforts are now on to try and locate this aircraft, but unfortunately, no development in that regard as of yet, Akshita.
We're hoping and praying for any news really at this point about the whereabouts of that particular plane. It's not looking good, Polami. It's been 3 hours now, because as per the information we received from the aviation minister, the plane disappeared at about 10:07 a.m. That was just in fact a few minutes after takeoff, about 10 minutes after takeoff.
That's right. If you estimate it to be about 9:55 to 10:07, so that's just about 12 minutes after takeoff that the aircraft in fact went missing. So clearly, all efforts are right now involved in that. The airline is saying that as far as the weather concerned, the weather forecast for the area was concerned, they believe the pilot, of course, took the call after looking at the details, especially also because what they say is that at least 2 different aircraft had got ahead of this particular flight to Jomsom airport, and it seemed to be they had landed quite fine. So on the basis of that, the pilot took the call. There were 2 pilots, of course, on board the aircraft. They took the call in order to go ahead and proceed further. So they, of course, had made the calculated call that it's absolutely fine and they would be able to land the aircraft at Jomsom airport. But unfortunately, this aircraft and one of those, because it's a back and forth journey, it's a short journey, it's you drop your passengers, you come back, it's only a 19-seater, the DHC twin otter. This one of them in fact has come back to Pokhara as well. So this aircraft, unfortunately, what went wrong, it still is a matter of mystery, because the authorities on the ground haven't yet been able to establish contact, and they've been trying to for at least a few hours now.
We'll also, in fact, play out a conversation that I had. Paul, stay on with us. I just want to play out this conversation that I had earlier with the aviation minister of Nepal. He's given us all the crucial information about the trajectory of this plane, the terrain, the rough terrain in that particular area, and the information that they have currently.
विष्णु जी नमस्कार, मैं अरविंद ओझा बोल रहा हूँ आज तक से, दिल्ली से।
नमस्कार।
ये जो फ्लाइट नेपाल से गायब हुई है, इसके बारे में जानकारी दीजिए। कहाँ से गायब हुई है, कैसे, क्या जानकारी है नेपाल पुलिस को?
हाँ, वो तारा एयरलाइंस के प्लेन पोखरा से वो मुस्तांग जा रहा था, वो गायब हुआ है। उसका अभी 2 घंटा हुआ है, उसका जो खोज तलाश जारी है। नेपाली सेना तो प्राइवेट एयरलाइंस के हेलीकॉप्टर उसके खोजने के लिए परिचालित हुआ है, उसने खोजी कर रहा है। वो नदी के पुलिस यूनिट, मुस्तांग के पुलिस यूनिट, नेपाल प्रहरी के प्रहरी जवान परिचालित हुए, उसने खोज रहा है। एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन अभी पता नहीं है, वो तो खोजी कार्य जारी है।
अभी उस जो फ्लाइट जो लापता हुई है, उसकी लोकेशन अभी तक नहीं मिल पाई है?
हाँ नहीं, वो मुस्तांग डिस्ट्रिक्ट के वो समवेयर वो शंकास्पद है, तो एग्जैक्ट लोकेशन पता नहीं है। वहाँ नेपाल प्रहरी का लोग ने वो खोज तलाश कर रहा है।
अच्छा, तो क्या इसमें नेपाल की जो सेना है वो भी अपने हेलीकॉप्टर के जरिए तलाश कर रही है?
हाँ, नेपाली सेना के हेलीकॉप्टर, वो प्राइवेट एयरलाइंस के हेलीकॉप्टर नेपाल सरकार ने खोज तलाश के लिए भेजे, वो खोज तलाश कर रहा है।
अच्छा, कितने लोग थे फ्लाइट में, कोई ऐसी जानकारी अभी डिटेल?
हाँ, फ्लाइट में 19 लोग हैं, तो वो फ्लाइट दल के 3 सदस्य थे, 22 लोग था।
अच्छा, ठीक है।
Apologies about that. That was a conversation that Arvind Oja had with a representative of the Nepal police. We've now got the conversation that I had earlier with the aviation minister of Nepal. We're playing that out for you now.
आज 9:55 में पोखरा से टेकअप हुआ था।
ओके।
10:07 में उसका कांटेक्ट भी नहीं हुआ। 10:07 में अभी हम लोग यहाँ काठमांडू रेस्क्यू एंड सर्च सेंटर में बैठे हुए हैं, इसका पता लगा रहे हैं। इसके लिए आर्मी का हेलीकॉप्टर भी गया है, पिस्टल एयर का हेलीकॉप्टर भी भेजा गया है सर्च करने के लिए।
सर, क्या आप कंफर्म कर सकते हैं हमारे लिए कितने लोग थे फ्लाइट में?
इसमें 19 लोग यात्री थे और 2 पायलट, चालक दल के 2 पायलट थे और एक एयर होस्टेस, 22 लोग थे। 22 लोग।
और ये प्लेन कहाँ से कहाँ तक जा रहा था? क्योंकि जो हमारे इंफॉर्मेशन है वो बस एक 20 मिनट का फ्लाइट ड्यूरेशन है।
हाँ, ये तो 17 मिनट का फ्लाइट है मैम, 17 मिनट का फ्लाइट है। इसमें पोखरा से जोमसोम जा रहा था। उसके आगे वाली 2 फ्लाइट थे वो गए भी और लौट के भी आ गए। ये फ्लाइट तीसरी वाली फ्लाइट है तारा एयर का, 9:55 में यहाँ से उड़ा पोखरा से जोमसोम की तरफ और 10:07 में वो गायब हुआ। इसलिए अभी हमारी सेना की आर्मी की हेलीकॉप्टर और ये प्राइवेट फिक्सल एयर हेलीकॉप्टर सब लोग ढूंढ रहे हैं उसको।
Okay, Polemy is still with us with all the latest on this. Polemy, you know, if you look at the kind of images that we're also showing on our screens, it shows what a difficult terrain this is. This is in between the Himalayas that the flight was supposed to land. Yes, it's just about a 25-minute journey, but once you take off from Pokhara and then make your way towards, in fact, Jomsom, the terrain there is very, very rough. It's very difficult to navigate. Only the most experienced pilots perhaps can do it. It's been also very accident-prone.
That's right. It is very difficult terrain, but Tara Air operates in the mountainous ranges of Nepal. Really, you know, that is what they do. Their flights are there are scheduled flights, and then there are chartered flights as well. These are for short distances, for distances which are, of course, in the mountainous ranges of Nepal. So you basically take a flight, and you're, you know, rather than take the roadway, you're there much faster because it's completely a mountainous terrain. And that is what Tara Air, in fact, which is a subsidiary of Yeti Airlines in Nepal, specializes in. It has obviously, like you said, it's accident prone. Tara Air specifically has had a number of incidents in recent years that we can count on, including fatal crashes as well, which unfortunately have, you know, put a question mark on its reputation, but it continued to operate in the area and in the region. That is, of course, a call of the civil aviation authorities on the ground in Nepal. And it has, these are the aircraft type that it has in its fleet as well. The aircraft type that was flying between Pokhara to Jomsom today was a DHC 6300, which is a twin otter flight of the de Havilland Canada company. And it had 5 of those in its flight, including and excluding 2 other Dornier aircraft that it has in its fleet. So clearly, this is the kind of operation that it was engaged in. Like I said, scheduled flights as well as chartered flights as well. So it is its pilots are familiar with the terrain, they're familiar with the region. We don't know what happened because, like the minister was also pointing out, and as I was saying earlier as well, at least 2 different flights went before this particular flight to Jomsom on the same flight path, and they landed. One of them, in fact, did the round trip as well. So is back from Jomsom to Pokhara as well. So on the basis of it is what the airline spokesperson has to say. The fact that, you know, 2 flights did in fact land at Jomsom earlier. The pilots of this aircraft, in fact, decided that they're going to go ahead. The weather, it seemed to be clear at that point of time. Now, of course, it's causing a roadblock of sorts as far as the rescue and relief operations are concerned. To begin with, of course, tracing the aircraft, of course. But at that point of time, it was considered to be fine. And that's why the pilots of the aircraft, in fact, took that call to, in fact, fly to Jomsom. So what exactly happened? Was it a technical problem? You know, was it human error? Was it the weather? We are still yet to find more details on that, certain more details on that, because until the aircraft is located, none of that is going to be known.
Let's get you details of the trajectory of this particular flight. Where was it headed to? Where did it take off from? The information that we have is that the flight took off from this particular place, from the Pokhara airport. You see around that there's quite a bit of civilization. Now, it's from this particular area that the flight took off. Very short flight, about 25 minutes we're being told. From the Pokhara airport right here, the flight took off at about 9:55 a.m. or so. Again, let me highlight for you that this is a very, very short journey. You see here that it is in fact full of homes, but beyond that, close to the airport from above on that particular direction, also you see that it is very, very mountainous. Let me also show you what the destination looks like. This pretty much sums up why every expert we've been speaking to has been talking about the rough terrain in this particular area. And if I show you this particular area right here of what the destination looks like, this is Jomsom, which is where the flight was supposed to land. Amid the Himalayas, there's a very, very small pocket, which is where the flight was to land. Because of turbulent conditions, because of the terrain, it is very, very challenging. Having said that, let me just show you exactly what this place looks like and where this particular plane lost contact closer to the destination than, in fact, the takeoff point. This right here is the Jomsom area. So you can see that there are a lot of small peaks around this particular area, but every expert we've been speaking to is saying this particular part of Nepal, there have been multiple tragedies, multiple crashes that have been reported. In Jomsom is where, in fact, the plane was supposed to land. 25-minute journey within which something's gone wrong, and in fact, the plane didn't land as expected at the airbase here. So 10:07 a.m. is when, in fact, they lost contact, complete contact with this particular plane. Right now, it is challenging. We just showed you what that terrain looks like. It's extremely challenging for the authorities, all the choppers who've been deployed there, to also find this particular plane because of the kind of terrain and the fact that this is right in the midst of the Himalayas, which is why you're also seeing it taking time. Despite it only being about a 25-minute area that needs to be covered, it's taking time for authorities to really identify where this plane is, what's happened, etc. It could take some more time. And in these kind of cases, these kind of search operations, it's essentially a race against time. And authorities will know that full well, which is why the army, the police, everyone's involved right now. Private airlines have also stepped in, offering their fleet to help in any way they can. They're trying to sweep through that entire region to try and identify what's happened to this plane. Paulami, there are a lot of questions. As you mentioned, unfortunately, we've seen several such incidents involving Tara Air. And there are several questions also being asked of why nothing was done with regards to safety measures, with regards to ensuring that these kind of incidents don't keep repeating. But the reality is that there's another one that we're talking about now, which perhaps, fingers crossed, it's not, but with more time passing, it looks more and more like a disaster.
Of the aircraft, obviously our hopes become extremely dismal. The situation starts looking much more bleak at the moment. And yes, Tara Air has had its incidents in the past, accidents in the past, like I said, including fatal crashes in the past as well. So if this is yet another such incident, unfortunately, we are yet to, of course, await word on what exactly has happened. But the fact is, if another incident has happened today, then clearly the authorities on the ground need to do something about it, because with an airline which has a track record which doesn't exactly read well on the safety barometer, then clearly you need to do something about it, because civil aviation is no joke. It's a very serious business. Passenger lives are at stake, your crew lives are at stake as well, and it's extremely serious business. And if incident after incident keep happening, then clearly someone has to be, pulling the stops on it. Someone, which includes the Civil Aviation Authority on the ground in Nepal, the government of Nepal, needs to put the stop on this and say that yes, we need to make take some corrective measures. There might not be as many operators on the ground in Nepal, especially people wanting to travel these mountainous distances in the shortest possible time, and which is why airlines possibly like Tara, which is a subsidiary of Yeti Airlines, has been saying, has probably been thriving. This was a full aircraft. It is a 19-seater and there were 19 passengers on board. So it's probably a thriving business, but can you put business over the lives of people, human lives? That's not how it works in civil aviation. And clearly someone will have to do a lot of answering today.
Very, very true. Paulami, one last question to you before I let you go. Is the passenger list out yet? Because I see a lot of questions about that being asked to us as well from concerned viewers. Do we have details of the passenger list and the 4 Indians who were on board?
No, at the moment, Akshita, the authorities on the ground haven't shared the passenger list as of yet, because the priority is to obviously locate the aircraft and, assure people that hopefully there are, survivors as far as this incident is concerned. We don't know what has happened again. We do put out that disclaimer. But the fact is, the authorities don't want to alarm families and others concerned about what could be the possible fate of the flight at the moment. So until they have located the aircraft and they know what happened, they are being a little circumspect about releasing that passenger manifest.
And understandably so. Thanks, Paulami, for the moment, for joining us with those details. Tragic news at this point that's coming in of a plane going missing. We're keeping our fingers crossed for some information, but going by all of the updates that we're picking up, definitely looks like there was some kind of, a crash perhaps that's happened, but we don't at this point want to jump the gun and confirm that for you. We're only hoping that there were survivors if that was the circumstance or if that was the case. 22 people were on board. That's 19 passengers, 3 crew members, 4 Indians also were on board. This was a flight that was moving from Pokhara all the way to Jomsom. Very short flight, 25-minute flight, but a tough one because of the terrain. At this point, choppers have been deployed across this entire region to try and see if they can identify or find the plane anywhere at all. 3 hours have passed, and we're going to be tracking the story very closely here on India Today and get you all the updates that come in from the authorities in Nepal. We're also very closely in touch with the local media in Nepal to get you every single update.